Into the Nexus is a production of amove.tv. Bookmark Amove TV for other great video games and esports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Welcome back, everybody. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl. I'm joined by Mr. Kyle Fergusson, and I am also joined by Dunk Train. Welcome back, guys. I would like to start this episode off by saying I'm not as excited for this episode.
Well, it's hard to be as excited for any episode as the BlizzCon episode, but I think I know where you're coming from.
No, you saw where I was going. I was trying to be like, guys, I thought you were going to be like, oh, don't be that down on Alexstrasza. And I was going to say, no. It's because the last time we did this, we were all in the same room together.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't tell you not to be that down on Alexstrasza. So.
I think there's going to be a little life binder shade being thrown on this episode. I can sense it.
Yeah. A little bit, at least.
Just a hair. But yeah, it's crazy to think that just a little less than 2 weeks ago, we were all chilling on a couch together, recording an episode in 25-minute bursts, because that's as long as my DSLR will record before it just shuts it off and you have to start recording again.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way to podcast. It ended up working way better than my actual podcast rig that I brought, though, so... That's fine. That's good. That's an interesting thing to learn. Kyle, man, how you doing? All the way back on the other, we're on ass ends of the continent again.
I know. I came back, got back to Heroes, and I'm in a weird place this week because I have continued my successful climb. One, not rank or league, no, rank a week. So I went up again. I'm Diamond 4 to Diamond 3. My brain's mush. I don't know if there are other heroes than Uther in this game right now.
So wait, you're not...
I don't know if there's another build other than Holy Shock that should even be taken. If it goes wrong, I go Rhaegar. I had to do a lot of work coming back from BlizzCon because, I was learning about Alexstrasza. I'm not a big WoW lore guy. And I'm wondering why. Why is this dragon being so perhaps flirtatious with Hanzo? Maybe that's it. But no, she's nice. She's a nice red dragon. So... I had to deal with that. She's not evil enough. The fire heals people. The Wrathgate. I learned about the Wrathgate, and I thought they were culling. Everyone's on fire. They're not on fire. Apparently, they're being healed by the cleansing flames.
Right, but okay. Yeah, I'm surprised you made it through Wrath and didn't learn who the hell Alexstrasza was.
You meet a lot of benevolent quest givers, and she didn't really stick on my radar. No.
Okay, fair enough.
So now we know you're the kind of guy who ran the auto quest accept mod in WoW.
Oh, I was going.
I click on quest givers and never read the lore.
I was going
chose
somewhere.
To play Crazy Taxi instead of WoW. Yes.
I see.
I
followed that arrow.
I was going a slightly more flirtatious route and saying, I guess Kyle doesn't have an elf fetish like most of the people that play World of Warcraft. And there's no judgment there. I'm one of those people.
It was snowing out, and I just thought she was a fool for wearing that bikini up there. She found pants for Heroes, so congrats.
Sadly,
sadly, she found pants. Yeah, the clothes have been slowly creeping on and on to some of the famous male bikinis of Warcraft. But I think that's fine. I think it's okay. I'm actually very happy with Alexstrasza's in-game model. It's looking good. But yeah, more on that in just a second. So I'm curious now that we've because the last time we talked, we were just like riding the hype train hard. Everyone get back from BlizzCon okay? Now that the dust has settled, are we still as jacked about BlizzCon, or do we get back, not hero specific, but just overall, do we get back and like, maybe this one thing wasn't as cool as I thought, or I still think it was a pretty damn good BlizzCon.
Outside of Heroes, yeah, like I loved all the stuff like Still excited about all the StarCraft Remastered content that's coming out. I'm still looking forward to the Hearthstone dungeon thing. Like, I actually can't wait for that to come out. So I mean, yeah, I'm super happy with the BlizzCon.
Man, I need to get you on Angry Chicken, because over there, none of us apparently are. I'm excited, but no one.
Wait, I can't. They're not excited.
I can't convert anyone else because they're not giving anything away. There's no rewards for playing it. Like, they don't give you.
Oh, like you don't even get your play gold or whatever.
No, none of that.
That's interesting.
Oh no, did I kill it for you too? Never, just forget I said that.
That actually doesn't bother me because like I'm not a big I play Magic to play limited formats. So like this is basically like a PvE limited format in Hearthstone, so I don't actually have a problem with it.
That's kind of where my head's at as well. Although at the same time, it was hard for me to argue with my co-hosts and be like, well, they could have just let us complete quests in it.
Yeah.
Like, what harm would that really have done?
Yeah, I agree.
But whatever the case is, I guess the first three are really, really easy. But whatever the case, this is not a Hearthstone show. But what about you, Kyle? Did you still like 2 weeks later? Are you still like, yeah, that was a good round of announcements across the board?
We led. I think that's incredible that we led the entire thing with Heroes. We set the tone.
Yeah, I would argue it was just that of all the cinematics, it wasn't the most bombastic, but sure.
Perhaps, but also it did have fan favorites from everywhere. You know, maybe Hanzo's a bit more memey, but Alexstrasza got to be shown off in all her glory.
Yeah. Being in that room when Alexstrasza got, like, the second she showed herself, and it's not just the cosplayers, like, everyone freaked out. That room roared. She's a fan favorite. So
yeah. Well,
cool. Well, let's get right into Heroes of the Storm news then, so we can talk about the Lifebinder.
We're on, boys! Ha ha! Let's liven up this place! Can Stitches play now? Point me to the stage.
So Alexstrasza has released. She's gone through PTR straight into the live game in rapid succession following her announcement at BlizzCon just barely 2 weeks ago. And while, as always, all we have to look at is HOTS logs, but it's something until we get an API, which apparently is still not even on anyone's radar over at Blizzard. This is what we've got to work with, and she has not released to a particularly great win rate. And from just a little bit of pre-show chatter I had with the two other gentlemen sitting in the Skype chat with me, it doesn't sound like any of our personal anecdotes would refute a different story. I personally have not won a single game with Alexstrasza on my team, whether I was playing her or not, since she released.
I'm trying to figure out if I've even won with her on my team.
I know I've done it. I've done it. It was with Flame Buffet build because that's the best, I guess. There's a lot of sad moments out in the world. There's a part of your brain that starts to try to figure it out, and the first thing you do is, how do I keep my life high? Okay, cool. So I can set up the area that we're all going to stand in for the heal. But then your brain starts to realize maybe that's too slow. Maybe you just killed all your friends by making them stand there for 3 seconds. So you get
the answer is yes,
7.
you did, by the way. The answer is yes, you absolutely just killed all of your friends.
So you get to level 7, you take Fire Within, where your Flame Buffet now heals you for 10% of maximum health. Okay, all right, there's something that can be done here. You go ahead and spec into that Cleansing Flame. You think to yourself, maybe I'll land past them like Falstad does and jump into my dragon form and push them. That's a very tiny Mighty Gus. I'm dead. And somewhere around level 16, you start to realize this isn't what you hoped. And I'm going back to Uther. It was my journey.
I had a very similar journey, except I went back to Lucio.
Wherever you hail from.
Exactly. Yeah. Wherever you hail from. I like that. Thank you, Kyle.
I played 3 games of Hero League Alexstrasza, and like the first 2 were okay, but the third one I just got stomped, and I was so mad. I was just like telling my chat, I'm never playing this hero again in Hero League until it gets buffed. I don't even want to see it on my team. Like, I was just so salty that game. I think I got like 4 level leaded or something. It was bad.
It's so easy. Oh, 4 level. It's like Illidan too. You just can get so locked out on her. But the point where my opinion was solidified was Garrett and I were running together, and the Butcher charges me, and he throws out his chain on me, and Alexstrasza stands there and watches me die. And
yep.
I can't blame Garrett for watching me die because there's nothing he could do about it.
Yeah, I would. Could you please add in the few things I did do, which was use my Q ability. We were even past 13 at that point, so I had life unbound, so I dropped that on you as well, and you were still dead before Abundance popped.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm curious, since you're here, and Kyle, since you're just a better player than I will ever be as well. For me, this week playing Alexstrasza, I didn't get a chance to play her on the PTR. I was traveling. For me, it really just seems to come down to Abundance. Like, she has so much healing locked behind her W ability, and it is the most dangerous ability I've seen added to this game and ever, I think. The fact that it doesn't do broken healing, which is what I feel it should do, for the fact that it has a 3-second a delay on when it happens, and it's not fast enough on that delay for the amount of healing that it currently does in the game. So that's where I feel the adjustment needs to be made. It either needs to pop faster or heal for more.
I mean, yeah, I think everyone kind of agrees, is pointing to Abundance. Like, the ability itself is, like, imagine if Alexstrasza didn't have that ability, her win rate might actually be higher. Because then she couldn't get her teammates killed.
Yeah.
And, like, tell the entire enemy team, focus this circle. And I'm being I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but, like, it really does feel that way. The healing doesn't feel impactful.
I have seen over the course of the week this interesting. So at the beginning, Tuesday, Alexstrasza comes out. Wednesday, people are pretty much like, there's a circle, I'm standing in it no matter what happens, and a lot of people are dying. I saw so much Diva this week in my quick matches. I don't know why everyone's playing Diva, but Divas would just walk up, drop their mech in the middle of it, and walk away. In like 3 games yesterday. It was ridiculous. And then today I get into the game, and I've seen people have learned rather quickly. They just ignore the heal. They don't stand in it if it's a bad time. They will stand in it if it's a good time, and that's great. But I don't know. It feels she just has no save potential. She's not going to save anybody in the heat of battle. It's more like trying to recover after the battle. Except it's still the hardest hero to recover heal with because of that delay. If there are any enemies nearby, they can still choose to dive on you once you put that out. So you really have to get pretty far back. And at a certain point, I'm just like, why we could just Hearth. We could just Hearth at this point.
Yeah, I would say I'm most disappointed in the fact that her kit honestly feels like it literally doesn't function if you don't have another healer, which is really unfortunate considering how much like flack double healer has been getting lately because of its prominence in the competitive scene and even in quick match. Like, the fact that they released another support, and Ana also only really functions in double healer. Alexstrasza, another hero that basically needs double healer. Like, while the community is complaining about double healer, it's really unfortunate, I think.
Yeah, what's that trade-off for you? Because when I stop by your stream, it's kind of the Ana show right now. Mm-hmm. Is that a artifact of Grandmaster? Or if you end up solo Ana, that's okay, but solo Alexstrasza would just be a nightmare.
I think solo Ana is not great, but right now Ana's like my favorite support to play, so I'll just lock it in. And in Grandmaster, you almost always get a second support anyway, honestly. Like, because everyone kind of has come to the conclusion that it's the best strat, so I would say probably 80% of my games are double support on both sides.
It's interesting, too, when you look at Grandmaster. 41% win rate in Hero League overall for Alexstrasza on HOTS logs. When you look at just Master, Grandmaster, and Diamond, it's still 41%. The pick rate just goes up to 43% rather than like 5.
I mean, everyone's trying to find out if she's good. Like, you have all these players, like HGC players, high-ranked players, they want to figure out like if this hero's okay. But the conclusion I'm coming to is basically that she's not playable. The only time I think she's actually good is if you're full E-build and you get to level 20 and you get her Dragon Form auto attacks apply the E, like, then she's broken. Like, she's actually probably top 10 heroes in the game once she's level 20 with the full E-build and that Dragon talent. That's like her only saving grace.
It's really intense. And Blessing of the Red ain't half bad either, particularly when you're running with a bunch of divers, which is what she's kind of weak to in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking.
I found my success with her to be one with Artanis, interestingly enough. You can kind of, well, blade dash back into the heal if you're removed from it, or come back to it in a couple seconds once it actually goes off.
Yeah.
I also found that the majority of my wins in an Alexstrasza game were because I cleansing flamed globally across the map, joined a fight I shouldn't have, or they weren't expecting me to.
Mm-hmm.
So you got no healing done with it, but you got to the fight.
Well, actually, the best situation for that cleansing flame seems to be one of those hold the point, or you're trying to take the Merc camp and everyone just piles on it. You transform into dragon early so that you don't have to deal with that once you land. Pick your new position before the final shot goes off, and you can kind of, through the healing and damage there, work out a win otherwise. But
I'm glad you mentioned that. The kind of tactical drop of the dragon is where this hero has shined the most for me as well. The first time I kind of did it by accident. I was already in dragon form, started taking some damage, kind of panicked, went into Cleansing Flame, healed my guys up, and then I was like, oh wait, I'm going to land as a dragon, so I got cute and landed in the fight and started throwing down. And that's when I was like, oh man, this is the potential of Alexstrasza. This is the fantasy I wanted to live playing this hero. But she's also a support I would like to support, and I can't support. And that's really just, at the end of the day, what's kind of killing it for me. So I think she's close, though. I think it really is. I will be so surprised if we don't see the W tweaked somehow with whatever the next patch is.
I think the W will get tweaked, but I also wonder what the idea was behind the base kit. Like, I don't really understand the Q and the W and the E. Like, they don't feel like they all belong on the same character. I'm not sure if you guys agree, but like, the Q heals someone and costs my own HP, but I don't actually have any tools to get that health back except the W that feels really bad. That's like an AoE heal that I want to put on my tanks, not on me. And then like, I have this E that I kind of want to poke with, but I also don't really do anything else. Like, if I'm in range to poke with the E, I feel like I'm in danger, and I don't have anything that interacts with that. And like, I don't know, the character just feels like the base kit is kind of all over the place.
I feel you, and that's why Fire Within really stands out to me, the level 7 talent that gives you the heal back. That sort of works you back into that's how I recover without destroying my team with abundance. And the strategy starts to make sense there. It's interesting, too, when you look at what spec is becoming the norm. In fact, people are skipping level 4 Flame Buffet talent and going with the movement speed when you're above 75% health. Healing yourself then at 7, a global as well as an escape from the field, encouraging that dragon more, and you start to build this, you move slow, I move faster, therefore I have greater mobility than the character would suggest.
Right. Because the biggest issue I had out the gate was just staying alive on Alexstrasza because of the lack of self-heal, except when I'm standing in my W, which is just insanely telegraphed. And I that's why I like Exuberance at 4 as well. Not to mention, if you're going the Flames build, it helps you land the buffet because it greatly increases your ability to draw lines across the field.
And people are talking about all sorts of specs, and some of them work, but I gotta say, Circle of Life, the level 1 town, I was on Braxis. She completes her quest, and it creates an orb, but we're up against a Chromie. So she creates this healing zone with an orb appearing in the middle of it, and Chromie drops her slowing sands on top of it, and Diablo's brain just broke. And he gets stuck on the edge. He wants the orb, but he knows it's a slow zone, and he just decides to dance on the edge and explode.
I'm sorry for that, by the way, Kyle. I really am. I shouldn't have done that.
We've learned to get our orbs. It's dangerous out there.
It is. Oh man, it's only gonna be worse when we get the neutral globes, man.
Oh yeah, well then you just gotta dive. Well, and that's I think one of the sad things for Alexstrasza is with the nerf they gave Ariel, we learned that so many supports are really susceptible to dive, and you also have these very perhaps soloable or burst-y supports like Rhaegar and Uther, where you can just get in her business. And you start to learn that so many heroes, Junkrat and Ariel, or even that Ariel Vala, just find which one's most scary and just keep diving them, and they won't ever find comfort.
Yeah, I did have a maybe two, like a very small handful of events playing as Alexstrasza where I was dove and I just dropped abundance at my feet and I didn't die so fast that it did actually pop. I was able to fight, and when your team actually responds to that and collapses on whoever dove you, I felt real good, but it didn't happen that often.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what is working for her. Double tank. She destroys double tank. Anything with a heavy bruiser line, you're looking at that flame buffet, getting lots of stacks out, more dragons, and absolutely a place for her. And maybe this sort of Volskaya, not necessarily point control. Her map win rates are like down to 37 when you look at Sky Temple, 35 on Dragonshire. But Braxis is 46. Maybe that's just a bit of the kit at play.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that Braxis is so high. She doesn't seem like she would excel there, given the penchant for like infinite healing supports to be really good on that map. I would expect her to just get completely crushed in the 4-man by like a medic or an Ariel pretty consistently. So I'm actually really surprised to see Braxis as a high win rate for her.
I think it's because the focus and the fact that if you just hold, you can get your points anywhere. So she may be very dead on that point in that game, but with a wing buffet, some healing, some abundance, you can just complete the objective for your Zerg.
She also does like solo clear a Zerg wave in dragon form. Like if you save dragon form to defend against a Zerg wave, her auto attack splash is so big she clears like the whole Zerg wave over the duration of one dragon form, which is pretty insane for your support role in the defense.
That's pretty good. I think the best or the saddest thing about her auto attack is, unlike a Vala where one little arrow just kind of goes pachoo and no one cares, you miss an auto attack on Alexstrasza and everyone's like, oh my god. Whoa, who was that for?
It's pretty telegraphed.
Also, looking at some of these win rates with a second support, 73% currently with Malfurion. If you're going to get cute with other guys, 9% with Uther, 21% with Lili, Stukov 35, Kairazim 26, Zarya 30%. So basically, run a Malfurion and nobody else.
Yeah, that's really weird to me too.
Seems strange. I get you're rolling the heal over time, and then maybe your Q is just a little bit of burst they needed to stabilize to get value out of Malfurion's heal.
Right, and maybe you end up in too similar of a situation to something like Uther, where you're both putting out a tiny heal and then a forward straight shot attack thing. Clearly, they're not complementing each other, and whoever's running that Kairazim isn't doing anyone any favors either.
Oh, Kyle, be nice to Kairazim. You're going to see a lot more of them thanks to BlizzCon.
I know. The problem with Kairazim, for me, among all the other problems that I voiced, is because of HGC, people are making their way back onto Kairazim, and they're hitting that W, and they're like, there you go. All better. No, that was patches ago. Come back. I still need more.
That's good. So, are you guys kind of in my boat? Do we think that we're going to see an Alex buff very soon?
Absolutely. I don't think her kit is complex enough to justify having such a low win rate. It's not like a Medivh or an Abathur where it's okay that the general population doesn't win that much with the hero. Like, the hero's not that complex. I think also I don't know, I feel like some readjustment of where her power is in her kit wouldn't be amiss. Like, maybe pull some power off the dragon form, put it onto her base kit so she doesn't feel so helpless watching her teammate die if dragon form is not up, you know? Like, that's something I'd like to see.
Or maybe let her go in the dragon form more often and reel in the power of that a bit, but still have it be an increase over her base kit.
Yeah,
I mean, we talk so frequently about the knobs. There are plenty of knobs that they can turn down and turn up on all the heroes in the game. And Alexstrasza, at least to me, some of them seem pretty glaring. The ones that they may want to manipulate. So,
yeah,
I like how she plays. I just don't like the results. So I'm looking forward to her getting a little bump, a little help in the numbers department. So,
well, in her own sort of mad meta way, coming out after Junkrat, she's brought about a resurgence in Tychus, Kerrigan, and Murky. Interestingly enough, the Kerrigan seems to be not only from HTC, but from the fact that you can just straight up dive her, and lots of the new heroes that have come out.
Yeah.
The Tychus, however, seems to be all Grubby's fault, and that he was streaming it a lot.
I'm okay with it. I can finally take Tychus again, and people don't freak out.
He got like some small buffs, right? He got like
yes.
I want to say like 7% auto attack and 8% Q damage or something.
It was right before BlizzCon, and I love Tychus. I would just main Tychus all day if I could. And I remember being on the show being like, well, it wasn't a basic attack range increase, so this still doesn't matter. But it does matter, it turns out. It's actually quite a nice buff. Except I still have to get way too close to people. It's scary.
True.
Well, some other things changed with the patch that brought Alexstrasza in. Before we get into Lily's rework, I wanted to mention that talent tier advantage callouts have been added to the in-game chat. So you're going to see a message automatically pop up for all players when one team or the other reaches levels 10 and 20. And the goal is to really let you know, hey, they've got heroic abilities, or hey, they've got storm talent tier advantage. You should probably not fight. Or hey, you have this, you probably should fight.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels a little cluttery and like hand-holdy to me in my games. I'd like to be able to turn it off, although maybe I haven't looked in the options, but
I was hoping for something a little more elegant up at the top where the levels are. Like make one glow, maybe when it's a larger number than the other one, maybe just like some holographic arrow that points to the larger number.
Yeah.
Maybe it amplifies when it's a talent tier advantage of some sort.
I found it helpful. Not so much for myself, because there's a big button off to my left telling me to pick a talent, plus Alarak says, do I really have to remind you? Which I love. But I'm sad this isn't part of the big ping thing that we already experienced, where we would get to ping the middle and say there was a discrepancy in the XP, get to ping who's dead and who's alive around. Those things aren't in yet.
Yeah, I wonder why they decided to remove those.
Yeah, because that was teased before BlizzCon.
Yeah.
It was in the PTR, yeah.
I don't know what's going on with that. We need to... damn it, Kyle, let's go in a time warp and go back and ask some folks at BlizzCon.
They wouldn't have anything else on their mind.
No. Yeah. No, definitely not. All right, let's talk about the Lily rework. Lily received a massive rework. We are not going to go point by point by point because we would be here for the rest of the episode. We wouldn't get to talk about anything else. But I will highlight for you what has happened to her basic abilities and also at the level 1 talents, because those are pretty big changes that if you are not already aware of, I would like to make you aware of. The big one is Fast Feet. It now causes basic ability cooldowns to recharge 50% faster, in addition to the movement speed increase that we're all used to. And then it would appear that all of the other basic abilities saw some major tweaks to kind of bring them in line with the new way that Fast Feet works. So Healing Brew has a 1 second longer cooldown, roughly 14% less range, and over a 16% reduction in mana cost. And this kind of goes along the board. It's not all the same. Like Cloud Serpent costs more mana now. It had 2 more seconds added onto its cooldown, but you get more attacks per second. They increase the damage, and the Serpent now gives a small heal to the hero it's attached to based on every single time it lands an attack. Blinding Wind changes as well, and Thousand Cups got a huge change. Its cooldown's only 20 seconds now, but it increases its cooldown by 2 seconds every time it heals an ally, up to a 50-second maximum.
So good. Really just elegant, you know? This is the sort of design that makes me go, wow, so obvious. So basically now, if you start Cups and you get interrupted the second you start it, you're on a 20-second cooldown. And you can choose to turn that off early if you're basically done healing to have another cooldown sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that change. I think it's really good.
Yeah, like you're all safe. You're still damaged a little bit, but you're by yourself. Like, I can just top this off with Q. I'm going to turn this off now and save myself the cooldown time. It's I haven't played that many games with Lily, but Kyle, you and I got in today and tried it out. She feels good.
Yeah, but there, like we said earlier, there are the knobs ready to be tuned. However, she has gone down 2% to 47% win rate. Like, we can assume a lot of that is just people who are excited, wanted to see what adventure was like.
Yeah.
I also think like the tuning of the rework expects a little bit higher fast feet uptime than is reasonable. Like her cooldowns generally went up, and you have to keep fast feet active. It feels like the whole game to feel comparable in power level, which is just not realistic. So maybe Lily is more of a matchup against damage over time effects now than like against heroes that you wanted to blind. Because just keeping fast feet up is so important for her power level, which is something that concerns me a little bit. Because I liked that it was really clear, if they have someone I really want to blind, Lily is a good pick here. But now I'm not sure that's true anymore, because you just have to have fast feet up, and if they don't have a way for you to keep that up for free without dying, then you're much weaker than before.
And on top of all that, the duration on the blind has been reduced.
Mm-hmm.
So you see that Tassadar coming, and you go, oh, yeah. Gonna grab my masochistic Lily. Gonna get a touch of that on me. Ooh, roots coming out. I'm diving into those.
Yeah, I think to me, my concern when I saw this was like, well, what if everyone learns to just not attack the Lily? But I don't know. I don't know how much. Lily's a juicy target. Always has been. You see Lily running, and you're just like, I want to kill you. I know you get a speed boost every time I attack you, but I want to get you.
Yeah.
I mean, as twisted as it looks in sort of a fantasy kind of setting, it's a really good thing to bake into her kit. Often on Lily, you're having to like weave in front of somebody to catch that Jaina bolt so you can body block their way out. You're going to absorb a Diablo dive instead of someone else by forcing your little panda body in that crack. And that's how she sort of bruisered it out. And I like this change. I feel like blind has just been bad for a long time.
What do you mean?
Bad as in it's bad for you to take blind, or it's bad to be blinded?
Like it's better, and this is a very perhaps Hero League thing to do, because, you know, often we're all a lot of one-trick ponies. We've been playing so much, we're just grinding it out. So, you know, making that switch from, well, I normally play Diablo, but they have a Samuro, I'm going to do Johanna, and your Johanna skills just aren't that hot. So blinds end up feeling like a waste. It's just that maybe we don't have enough main players in those blind categories, or did things like Zul'jin come along and ruin what it meant to blind somebody with the rework?
I think it's probably just people don't practice, like you said, those heroes. So like they think they can pick that hero to counter something, but in reality they don't have any experience on it, so they don't play it very well. That's probably like the biggest thing. Like if you play one game of Cassia or Johanna a month, because that's the only time that you see the right draft for it, like you're not going to be good at those heroes. You're going to play way below your actual skill level on those heroes, trying to like remember what the talents do and stuff. So
yeah, I mean that's the push and pull, that the challenge of solo queuing that we always mention on here is just like there's a fine line between playing for the draft and playing for what you know how to excel on.
Right, and to that Cassia point, the best Cassias I've seen, they don't care what the comp is. They want to be Cassia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with, but I know there's other heroes. Me, it's Asmodean. For Kyle, it's Kerosene. When those people just get on their main that you disagree with, you tilt a little bit inside. So, and also right now for me, it's Alexstrasza.
Only if it's on my team.
Yeah.
If it's on the enemy team, I get excited to see Alexstrasza.
Be nice to the life binder. She was nice to Hanzo. I'm never going to get those names right. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Hey, so over on the Heroes of the Storm subreddit, a Redditor by the name of Local Ghost posted a deep desire for an MMR Q&A, and Blizz Travis kind of just started one right there in that thread and answered a lot of questions about concerns regarding the upcoming MMR changes. And there's a lot to unpack here. He said there was a lot of talk on the subject of personal points. Travis said that the most important thing is still winning the game. That has not changed. Sometimes that means sticking to heroes you know really well. Other times that means having flexibility in your hero roster and playing the heroes that best fit the situation. So basically what we just talked about. He also said that, drafting matters in the same way as the above statement. Drafting is a skill, and how well you draft affects your win rate. So that to me sounds like hand waving away any concerns that drafting will somehow affect your MMR points, because he just says it'll affect your win rate, and he's talking about how your win rate affects your points.
I think there's also a fear that with the personal adjustment, the Hero League is going to be a super clown fiesta. It'll be a skilled clown fiesta, but everyone will just be on their mains to maximize their points, their contribution for the team, which doesn't sound too bad.
I think that might be the case out the gate, but if you're just blind picking the same pick over and over again and not getting results, I think you're going to get sick of it and start opening up your possibilities a little bit. I'm not saying grabbing Cassia because you haven't played her in three months and, oh my God, I need the blind all of a sudden, but maybe not just slam Vala every single game.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really, really on the fence about this system.
It's I think the single largest wait and see I came out of BlizzCon with across all games, across all announcements. This was the thing I was just like, this sounds really awesome in context or in theory. Let's see how it actually plays out. So let's just, yeah. But to continue on with things that Travis pointed out, he said, no, you will, on the subject of believe the question was, can you lose points at a game you won? And he said, no, you will only gain points on a win and lose them on a loss. Say, for example, you get full carried for a game. You will not lose points, even if you were just playing terribly, but still somehow the other 4 people on your team secured a win. But he continued, he said, but you also aren't going to gain very much either. So you will still get plus points, but probably not nearly as many as if you had played your role well.
And this comes after the question, are we going to get points back when we lose? And the answer is no. If you lose, you just lose. And you lose the points, there's nothing that you're going to be able to do to recover some points back. That situation we talked about where Illidan goes farms camps or Kerrigan asks if she can stun her friend, not going to contribute anything.
Right. But it does sound like you could lose fewer points.
Yeah.
Than you would in the system that we currently have, which, again, in theory, sounds great to me. That sounds fine. If I play well and it just didn't work out, that's a runner-up prize I'm okay with. Dunk?
I just hope it doesn't lead people to like, okay, some games it's not that you're going to lose, but let's say I'm in a game state where I think I probably have a 10% chance to win the game, realistically, from this game state. Maybe the best chance to win the game is to force a boss. And yeah, you're probably going to end up feeding, but that's probably your best chance to win too. It's you're tiny out, but now people are going to be I don't want to feed more. I want to just not have as many deaths as normally people do when they lose. So I won't lose as much MMR. That's my concern, is that people are going to start playing safe when they're way behind, when that's not correct, or not bailing out of team fights early so they don't get another death. So that, that's the kind of thing I don't want this. I'm worried about the system influencing people's behavior.
You don't want things to become too homogenized. Every game that looks like a losing scenario, everyone starts playing the same way rather than taking risks.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, true.
So, I mean, I get that concern too. I don't know. I wonder how much. I don't know. This is almost a larger conversation about the whole system and the player base of it. Do we think that so many folks playing Hero League pay extreme close attention to changes to the MMR like this, and if they don't, if there's a large portion of the player base still in Hero League that don't check patch notes, are they going to make this abundantly clear in game that this is what's happening? Are we at the end of the game when we get our points, is it going to show you why you're getting the amount of points? And then on your next game, when you get fewer or more, it also explains why you got more or less in that game.
That's actually a really interesting question, because right now you have no way to tell what your MMR actually is. Like, you see how many points you won or lost for a game, you saw if you were favored, and you see what's called a personal rank adjustment if your MMR is significantly above or significantly below where you currently are in rank. But like, I think one thing too is people don't understand that your rank is not your MMR. So I don't know how this system is going to tell you, oh, your MMR went up a bunch, and then you're going to look at your points, but I only got normal points or something, and it's going to be weird. I don't know how they're going to
reconcile that. Yeah, Kyle, I see you scrubbing around in the notes, and I see under parameters where Travis made a comment saying we have great insight into what parameters are used, but aren't going into that level of detail externally. I read that as in like they're not going to give us a spreadsheet of every single thing that contributed to it, but that I still could see a universe where they show us a few things. Like they did in the slide presentation at BlizzCon. They had little icons drawn up for well, I guess they were just using emojis, weren't they? Never mind. I recant that statement. They were just using emojis that are already in the game. You're talking about
an important moment where they showed us Illidan and gave us his sort of 4 cubbies that he needs to earn points in to gain these parameters.
Right.
And it's, I think, a pretty big deal that he said here, we won't know those as the public. Whether for trolling or for just success. I mean, as a learning tool to say, well, Chromie needs X, X, and X to be successful. That's huge. I really enjoy that idea.
Yeah, well, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you have Dunk's concerns, which I think are really fair, which is if you give that information to the public, they're going to start playing in a very regimented way that may not actually be the correct course of action given the state of the game that you are currently in. But then you also have your side of the coin, Kyle, which is, but if people know this and they weren't doing it to begin with, they might become a better, Illidan player, a better Vala player, whatever the hero may be. And
right. Like, I've been doing lessons with Jeff Kanata on Wednesdays, and we've been streaming it, and he didn't know how to do a Kael'thas combo, which is the living bomb, give it a minute, then toss out your gravity laps, throw the flame strike on their feet, then another living bomb while you do the auto attacks. And you can burn through a huge amount of health, but where do you learn that? And it's always changing, too, in this game. So if Blizzard is telling us that when you go to the hero page and it says how to perform the highest damage combo for the most points, I think you might have a smarter player base.
Yeah,
granted, you also introduce a staleness, but we have enough heroes to maybe make that interesting.
Well, I think that's a good example of where there's a pro and a con to that. I want my Kael'thas players to know how to do that combo. If they don't already know how, I would love the game to kind of spur them into learning it. At the same time, I don't want Kael'thas always comboing, say it's Infernal Shrines, and there's a bunch of enemies on top of skeletons. Don't worry about your damn combo, drop that Flame Strike.
Right, and wait, I use all my spheres for 2 living bombs. What do you mean I can pierce and pick up 3 people? You got to be dynamic about it, too.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I don't know, I guess it's a judgment call. This is a judgment call that Blizzard is having to make. It sounds like they're choosing to obfuscate this information, and we're going to have to see how that plays out. If it doesn't work out, maybe they will show it. Maybe they'll just retcon this entire MMR system. Maybe they'll adjust it. We don't know. I mean, so much of what we talk about on every episode of this is placing a lot of trust in Blizzard.
And it's too an artifact of the leagues we're participating in. Like this change, my Uther with a divine shield, and voice chat, it's all very based on where I'm at. If I pick up first pick Uther, which I'm just doing right now to grind it out, and I'm having a fantastic time. I even had a team where a guy was like Genji and then Greymane and Malthael, and I'm like, oh my god, no. But it actually won. People see that and they immediately think, oh, a divine shield target, and I'm very happy to have that environment to play in. What do these parameters look like in lower leagues? What does voice chat look like in lower leagues?
Yeah,
that's going to be an interesting question. I wonder what the participation will be like in voice chat among the leagues.
Yeah,
just random side note, like
it's got to be tough, right? Because you've got 5 people. One of them maybe is a esports junkie. 2 of them play every night, and then the other, 2 just casual. Like, what is their conversation? When someone says soak, do you get a what back in the voice chat?
Wait, soak? Wait, my dishes? What about my dishes? What are you talking? Are you like...
I would hope they would, actually, because I would like to legitimately explain to someone, help and teach so that they know what it is. But I realize there are a lot of people on this earth that would immediately start berating that person for asking the question.
Yeah.
It's very different, I imagine, than my experience with Dota 1 was, which was this guy's talking about the cartoon he's watching, this guy's watching sports, maybe we come together for a team fight, but as long as the lanes are all covered. that was 2013 Dota. We didn't have the terminology, we didn't have the esports, we didn't have the vocabulary to be mad at each other efficiently.
Well, and that still might happen, Kyle. Don't. I'm sure if voice chat went up this weekend, we'd all get in there and start making fun of Justice League. It's fine. I don't know if it's good or bad yet. I have yet to see.
Well, it's good to make friends, right? And you know, ripping on a movie, everyone's ripping on them. It's a good way to make friends. It's
good. That's how you bond. You bond. Then you two have something in common, and then you actually want to win together going into the game. Make friends.
Make friends fast. That's what you've always said about voice chat.
Damn straight. At least with one other person. Make a friend. Works a lot in Overwatch. So anyway, I highly recommend our listeners go over to the subreddit and read this through if you haven't already. I'm sure we're going to be going back to it multiple times as we go through the course of this MMR system being rolled out. So let's...
The big thing he says for when it comes out is it's about speed and not accuracy. So, I think he's trying to dodge the boulder ahead of time a little bit here. People need to be moved. And this new system is going to allow them with wins to move to ranks they belong in. That doesn't mean after your first placements that it is now the accuracy that we think the system needs. It's going to take time.
Because that's when we hear the most vocal opinions about the matchmaker, right? Is after placements. That's when we get all the emails, we get all the tweets. I get on the show and talk about how bad my record was and where I got placed. I invite Dunk to coach me. And actually one of the things he says is, well, you were going to lose this game no matter what. You should have just gone crazy and tried to solo a boss. You're flanked here. Which ties neatly into your concerns at the top of this discussion.
True. But that also, we just revealed that the majority of the conversation we have about ranked play is when the majority of the players in it aren't the permanent audience.
What do you mean by that? You mean people just
the opinions of ranked flow most strongly from those who do not play ranked the majority of their game experience. And we have those big sort of bursts of ranked talk at the beginning of season because everybody's playing it. Everyone's curious where they play.
What you're saying.
But then the conversation dies out as the game actually becomes good. In my league with my Uther and these gray mains and whatnot, you know, I feel very lucky. But my game experience after 3 weeks from placement drastically improves.
Yeah, there's definitely like a time period in the middle of seasons where it's only the people who actually really want to play the ranked mode are still playing ranked mode compared to queue 'em with their friends or whatever. And that's what you're talking about, right? How like at the beginning and end of a season, like the population is very different from the people who are the tryhards in the middle of the season.
Well, you can even see it in like the Alexstraszas. The game loads up and half of them have Junkrat portraits. They're just that guy.
Yeah.
I can see that. Okay. All right. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. And it's interesting because I've never really thought about heroes that way. We complain about that in basically like the opposite in Hearthstone all of the time because of the way that ladder functions where it's just a grind. There's really no placement at all. You start a little higher up if you got very far along. So very early on in the month, doesn't matter what rank you're at, you're playing like the hardest games of Hearthstone you're going to play that month unless you make it into numbered legend ranks. And then at the end of the, like if you just didn't play a single game of Hearthstone, you go in rank 25 on the 28th of a 30-day month, you're going to make it to 15 real fast.
That's what I do. Every month.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy wins, boys. I'm rocking my full legendary deck.
I'm glad.
The beginner cards, and I feel so bad, but it feels so good.
Nice Yeti, bro.
but really, I want to thank you, Kyle, because I've never really painted that picture in my own head. I didn't really connect the dots. That there was also a similar effect in the opposite fashion in Heroes Ladder. because we're over in Hearthstone land going, give us placements, give us an MMR, make it count, because why? I could just wait until later and have an easier climb. But
and I'm sitting there, a week before the big patch change up, like, let's just play some heroes. This will be nice. Placing Genji? What the heck? 9 weeks in? Where have you been?
Placement Genji. Oh, is that the most terrifying thing on the load screen or what?
I think for Kyle it's still placement kerosene, but yeah.
Probably.
Lord Almighty. All right, well let's move into esports land for a second, because roster apocalypse has begun, gentlemen.
Oh yeah,
Kyle, I know this interests you to no end. You find it very fascinating as to why teams just can't seem to stay together. And you and I were playing some games earlier today, and I was just like, man, the NFL makes this an event. So
it's joyous over there, but I feel like we're doing a bit of the they're millionaires anyway.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Dunk, why do people get emotional about roster flips in esports, whereas I guess people do get emotional in the NFL. Never mind, I just don't care about it. But I talked to my cousin, and he's just like, "Can you believe so and so left team example that makes sense to go to other team example that makes sense?"
Yeah, I don't know why. As an audience member, I think as an audience member, people feel connection to a roster as a whole, or a player on a team. And some part of that player's identity is lost when they move to another team. So I don't know. It never really bothered me. Outside of my own team's roster changes, I never looked at other teams' roster changes and was like, oh my god, how could you do that?
I think it
was never a thing for me.
Actually, I think I just landed on what confuses me about getting emotional over heroes. Esports roster changes versus a more traditional sport like NFL. The teams aren't even they're not tied to a specific state. You don't even have that. I get it. On the end, it's oh man, my favorite player from my home team, they're off.
Oh yeah,
they're going to our rivals. If someone from the Yankees goes to the Red Sox, I want to vomit, and vice versa. But here, we'll see what happens when Overwatch League finally gets rolling and we get some kind of hometown cred to the teams to root for, but in Heroes and every other esport I have followed up to this point, that's never been the case. It's always nation versus nation, not state versus state, unless you're watching Dorm.
For sure. I could definitely see the regional ties adding more influence to the sports roster changes. I'd never thought about that because I'd never followed sports ball. So
I'm a very passive watcher of baseball and football, but that's about it. But yeah, so the roster change period has started. The release period ran from the 6th to the 13th. We just began the acquisition period. It fired up on the 14th, so it's only been going for 2 days. And approvals wrap up on the 22nd and the 23rd. So there's actually a great mega thread up on our Heroes of the Storm right now covering all of the roster changes. But since we just started the acquisition period and it kicked off with the release period, it's a lot of folks leaving and not a lot of confirmed pickups yet. Really just Liquid, Freedom, and Roll20 being the only teams we know of that have picked up new players.
Looking at this for the business, things going pretty well. Is Blizzard doing everything they can? We hear a lot about sponsors and they need to be seen. So we need that filler content. We need those players' jerseys being circled behind. Everything good at HGC, in your opinion, Dunk Train, to build that atmosphere?
That sounds loaded.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. To me, I feel like probably the playing season is too long is a real concern.
I'm so happy to hear that.
I mean, from sanity, yes. As an adult, yes.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't really know about all the sponsors and stuff.
So, but let's talk about season length, because this comes up. God, Kyle, you and I were talking about this about StarCraft 5 years ago. It feels like the playing never really stops. There's not a lot of breathing time. Whoever is the champion, they don't really get to bask in their accolade for that long.
That's true.
I mean,
Think about it. Like mid-season brawl was like maybe 4 months ago at the time of BlizzCon, and like so Fnatic was champs for 4 months. That's kind of feels bad, man.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I don't know how long you take the break, right? Because mid-season brawl is exactly what it is. It's the middle of the season. So I almost feel like there shouldn't be a very long break, because then you hurt the narrative. But I definitely feel it should be like a longer downtime between the grand finals and the kickoff of the next season.
I think all this is really well highlighted in those new StarCraft free-to-play commercials that are playing right now. Where
I haven't seen those, but I saw someone talk about them.
Neither have I.
They're fantastic. They're fantastic. But basically, a kid turns to his dad and says, "Dad, I'm losing at my game. Can I have some money to buy some better units?" And the guy goes, "Oh, son, you need to play an adult game," and hands him StarCraft 2.
Wait, what?
Holy, that's god tier.
They're talking.
Yeah. Then
They're
the next
talking.
scene, the kid sits up and goes, "Thanks, Dad," and has a beard. Became a man.
They're talking some mad smack, and I love it.
That's all. I need to see this now. That's amazing.
Oh my god! Thank you, Kyle, for bringing this into my life.
In another one of the commercials, he says, "Your grandfather didn't battle all his summers away, so you could play these cheap games," and hands him the copy of StarCraft 2 in that version. And it really kind of solidified that, like, we're talking like a dad talking to his kid. We're talking like old men for StarCraft 2 already. Maybe our minds are just sort of programmed to think of video games as really short-term products. And now that they're becoming these long, with heroes anyway, these things that refresh and keep us interested in the game, we haven't found that balance of, I'm always interested, I always need esports. It always felt like with StarCraft 2, we got to have esports all the time because this industry could fall apart if people stop watching.
Well, yeah, and that's not the case anymore. There are plenty of very healthy competitive games out there to watch and also to compete in if that's what you're trying to do. So I don't think we need seasons that span almost the entire year anymore. Let's spread them out. Let's try not to overlap if we can. But of course, I'm saying this from Perfectville, where there's not, they're not literally competing businesses that don't care if they're overlapping with each other. So yeah, I don't know, but I just, as not a traditional sports fan, but looking at their season lengths, it's something I long for. I want to give me some time to miss heroes. Give me some time to miss World of Warcraft, which actually they're doing because they did that dungeon run invitational, and it was the most I've enjoyed an esports event in a very long time. And I don't know when they're doing another one, and I'm sitting here just jonesing for it. But we've gotten delightfully off topic multiple times now. All I want to do now, Kyle, is have a discussion about how RTS is a dying genre, and that's probably why we're getting these commercials that look like they're trying to sell us a vinyl record.
True.
But that's a discussion for another day. But anyways, head on over to the Heroes of the Storm subreddit and keep up with the roster apocalypse. Before we move on to strategy, which is actually spurred on by an email this week, let's thank our patrons supporting us over at patreon.com/ITN, where we have hit milestones that allow us to pay recurring guests like Mr. Dunk Train here, like Mr. Jeff Kanata, they both come on once a month. Fell below Dunk Train for a little bit there, but we got back over it. So head on over to patreon.com/ITN if you want to support the show, if you like our contributors. This episode, we want to thank Alan R., Chad Z., Boglu is how I'm going to choose to pronounce that, or B-Glue. I don't know. It's got a EUX at the end. It's French. Connor R. and Sarowin, all thank you very much for this week. So whatever the case is, let's move on and talk about some strategy, which was spurred on by an email sent to itncast@gmail.com.
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? Ah, that seems generous.
And this is your brain on fell magic.
Our listener Ghost Bear wrote in this week and wants to talk about Volskaya. Ghost Bear says, Volskaya, I haven't been able to come up with a solid strategy for this map. If possible, a deep dive would be appreciated. My thought is capture the point. Use the Triglav Protector for team fights. Then just use it for enabling siege with a one-person man. With a one-person man. I like that. One-person man. What is his power? Until another team fight breaks out. Capture turrets and support camps for sustaining additional damage for point capture. Question. Who should we look at getting to draft or ban? Map size indicates global presence, but objectives look like point control. Then there is the question of Sylvanas value. How should we use the Protector? It isn't as much of a siege vehicle. Should it just break walls and team fight? Is there value in capturing it, but never using it and just pushing on the map? A lot of questions by Ghost Bear.
Yeah, that is a big question. So, Volskaya. This map is hard to break down because we have not seen very much competitive play on it yet. We're starting to see a little bit in the Nexus games because it is available in the Nexus games and some of the pro teams have been playing on it. So kind of to answer in order of what the listener is asking, just general concept about the map and how to play it before talking about draft specifically. I think he's pretty correct. Triglav Protector for team fights is most important. Try not to put two people in it and let your team just die for free. Like, I know this sounds like obvious, but I don't think people really appreciate how vulnerable it makes your team if you put two heroes in. Like, let's say you put both your frontliners in the mech. The enemy team can just dive your backline. Let's say you put both your healers in the mech. The enemy team can just kill your squishy that's right next to the mech. Like, it doesn't really provide peel. So you have to be really careful who you put in the mech. And that's the biggest mistake I still see people doing on Volskaya is like putting both their healers in the mech or both their tanks in the mech. And then they're just really weak to certain engage styles. So that's what I would first thing recommend to avoid. After that, I agree. The Triglav Protector itself is not too strong for actually pushing, so you need to find a way to compensate for that, whether it be a specialist or just actually grouping as 5 and pushing, having some way to get value while people are capping the objective. It's pretty complicated because I think it's the first map we've seen where the map objective is not that powerful outside of Cursed Hollow. And Cursed Hollow, that's kind of balanced by the fact that there are bosses that are also like a pseudo map objective.
So I want to talk about the switcheroo, the cups game that you're playing with the heroes. Mm-hmm. But are we using the Triglav the way we are, just out of muscle memory and we're in a vehicle, go slam a wall?
Well, I think yes, we are, but also what else is there to do? Right. I think that's one of the big questions about the map is something that feels a little bit wrong is like the Triglav Protector is so good in team fights, but like we just got done with the team fight. We just team fought over the objective and we get the Triglav Protector.
And then they'll run behind the wall and then you push the wall.
Yeah. So like I don't really get it in the sense of I heard this a lot actually at first is people saying like, oh, don't push with it, team fight, but like you kind of have to push to force them to team fight you,
right?
Which I think a lot of people find it really easy to kind of discount. So it's good to have a hero who can force the push to actually be valuable with the Triglav, I think.
And would you say Sylvanas is one of those heroes?
Yeah, Sylva's definitely one. Anyone who can summon like a Zagara or an Azmodan, just having extra bodies to like soak the tower shots will really help the longevity of the Triglav Protector. Plus, if the enemy actually engages on you, those split pushers that are not that great in team fighting, suddenly they can hop in the mech and turn into a real boon to your team in terms of power level for fighting.
So you're not going to grab the Triglav, then walk into the middle of the map and say, anyone want to come fight me?
Yeah.
Right.
Would it be worth then to, let's say you have no specialists. People get mad about specialists right now in some ranks too. They don't want to see them. So you got nothing like that on the team. Would it be worth to just like walk around the top, go around the back, dodge the wall, and just start fighting whatever the heck you can find?
I don't think so. It's probably too risky. I mean, conceptually, I don't hate it, but it's probably too risky. The biggest biggest thing you could probably do if you don't have specialists is try to time like the siege mercenaries on top. Try to time those so they actually push when you get the protector. I don't remember if they disappear when the protector spawns? Do they disappear when you activate I don't remember exactly how it works, but if you could have them pushing at the same time as the protector, that's value.
You can't start them up, but I don't think they like disappear from the map if they're already in lane.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's what I meant is like if the protector spawns, does their circle disappear? Like you can't go kill them anymore, which makes it tough. But
yeah,
if you can prep them during the thing and then walk your protector up, you'll get a lot more value, theoretically. But in general, just try to slow siege, I guess. If you don't have a specialist, you can still slow siege. But the big mistake people are making is, like you said, just walking the protector up and smashing the buildings with its fist. It's not actually that strong if you do that. If the towers are focusing and stuff, you have to play it kind of like an in-between between a hero and a Dragon Knight, where like you don't want to be tanking the wall. Dragon Knight, whatever, I'm going to go tank the wall because I'm going to time out anyway. Triglove Protector, you don't really want to be doing that. Go set it up just outside of tower range and leave one person as gunner or whatever. Don't let it just take sustained focus fire from the objectives for no reason.
That's been my strategy, is to be the guy who drives it. Jump in it as fast as possible because I'm going to use my cooldowns. I'm going to go park it in front of where I'd like for it to fight for a little bit, blow those cooldowns, pop out, use my cooldowns on my main hero, jump back in. Hopefully the gunner's still gunning and I can reposition its position.
Do you guys think that this is even remotely close to what the hell Team 1 actually wanted this battleground to play like? Because it does not seem like it would make sense, or the battleground teaches you that that's a good use of the resource of the objective.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me. I like the map still. I mean, I don't hate the map still. It's straight up middle tier for me as far as maps go. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's in the middle. But I definitely feel like they missed the mark a little bit on fighting with a giant robot. It doesn't feel quite right, and I don't know if that's because it doesn't feel right killing buildings with it as opposed to team fighting or what.
And you can't force a team fight. So, I mean, eventually, if you're just enabling your team to siege, they're going to have to do something about it. But that something might just be pushing one of your forts while you're sieging, which then you can uproot and run to them. But it's a big map. They're going to get to safety before the protector shows up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'd be cool. I'd like to see the protector get a global ability or better movement.
That is something it's lacking.
It's a mech, man.
Mad about Garden Terror running off. Can you imagine Triglav just teleporting top lane?
I mean, if its job is to team fight, if it could quickly show up to a team fight that's not anywhere near it, that'd be great.
You can see what they're thinking, though. They're thinking, what if we made a pilotable Punisher, but we wanted to add another level of dynamic play choice? Because the idea is awesome. The problem is often that the Triglav moves while you're channeling to get inside, and then it walks outside of channel range. And your sweet move where you jumped out, took a whole bunch of damage on the tank, and now I've got no health, but I'm going to jump back in and pilot. Oh, it walked.
He walked away.
Yeah, and I would like to see them tweak it to where that's not encouraged, because that just doesn't seem like, I don't know, it doesn't seem obvious. And if that is how they want us to play it, they need to explain that to us better. Like, even if it's as lame as a tooltip loading in, welcome to Volskaya. Here's the button to leave the damn thing. You should leave the damn thing a few times. Yeah, and verbatim, by the way. Yeah, they should include damn a couple times. Yeah. I could write
very technical terms there.
Let's talk about an easy team to put together for this. I see a lot of Dahaka failing, actually. 41% on the map. I feel like this is just because the point lasts so long compared to some of our others that by the time you go in, maybe use your heroic, use your essence, there's like 2 more fights that have to happen.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's something that people don't really understand. This mechanic is so slow. You almost always have to win 2 fights to actually get the mechanic. Basically, like, everyone runs out of the mechanic. We fight. Whoever got on it first is going to get to a certain percentage, and the team fight is going to be over because we've killed each other or everyone had to back off. and then like they have to come back and win the fight again to gain control of it again so that they can actually finish. Because if they just come back and then you come back, if they don't win the fight, they don't get the objective because they go to 99% and go to overtime. Like, it's an advantage to be the first team at 99% to force the overtime, but it doesn't mean you got the objective, which is really, I think, so different from other maps that people don't really get it. But it's actually in your interest to come to the point. If you win the first fight, get to 70%, then leave, just walk away. But so many times I see people, we got to 70%, I'm going to stand here. The whole team backs off to tap the well or to go back and soak lanes. And the one guy's like, I'm going to get it, guys. People come back, they kill him. Now we can't contest it. So they go up to 70%. And now we have to fight again. Just get to 70% and then leave. Everyone go back to base, full heal, push out your other lanes, come back when they're at 70% and have either fallen behind on map control or they're not at full HP because they didn't all back while they were holding the point or whatever. Then you come back and fight again. And when you win from that point, you actually can capture the objective instead of overextending and like throwing away whatever lead you got in the first phase fighting, which I see all the time.
I feel like that is what makes this map so difficult to draft for, because we see point control. We think Braxis, maybe Sky Temple, maybe Dragonshire. Dragonshire a bit more in the global department. But our minds from maybe a year ago go double tank. It's amazing. Let's hold the point. But you're never going to regenerate all that double tank health by the time that second fight breaks out, old Curse Hollow style, where they all run in fully regenerated from the core.
Yeah.
So is it double support then? And we sort of divvy out the mana cost? Like, how do we live so long on a point?
I definitely think double support is really good. I think any stacking hero like Zul'jin to me is the premier unlimited stacking hero now, with the baseline quest added that lets him stack on auto attacks and the level 7 quest added for Ws. The fights last so long on this map. Zul'jin gets absolutely out of control, so he is insane. Nazeebo, the map almost always goes to level 20 because, like we talked about, the objective's not that good at actually destroying structures. So Nazeebo can get to 20, so he's fantastic on that map. But the long fighting, double support is for sure the way to go.
And everyone you mentioned there, Zul'jin auto-attacking, Nazeebo, pretty mana efficient. The lane's right there, too, if he's got to grab a little bit. But no one maybe like Alexstrasza who can just hit a wall and be done with their mana.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Go for it.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, like, Uther, this is probably one of his weaker maps because it takes so long to get the objective, you're going to fall behind. You know, like, you just don't have the healing throughput.
I love Stukov here, if I can make an excuse for it.
Yeah.
When it comes to point C, is there anything we can do to make this slightly logical and less of a madhouse? It's the bottom point with the treadmills on it.
I don't think there's anything you can really do about it. I have basically resolved to approach point C in one of two ways. Either let the enemy get there first and then hard engage on some point where you can let the conveyor belts mess up the enemy team's positioning, basically. Like, because they're all on the point, they're either clustered in the middle and way too clumped, or they're split up, and then it's really hard for their team to reposition because some of them are on the conveyor belts and it's really awkward. And then the other way to approach this, I think, is you have one person sit on the point and everyone else just hang out in the lane right above the point. That way you don't have to deal with the conveyor belts at all. And that's what I'd recommend if you're ahead, is to get on the point early, have your longest range or most mobile hero just stand on the tippy top most edge of objective C and cap it. The rest of your team stands out in the lane, watches for the angles that they can come in, and if they show up, you just leave the point, because the point doesn't matter. You don't actually have to stand on the point. You're not getting anything by standing on it permanently. Just go team fight. Don't compromise your positioning by having all 5 of you clumped on the point and like getting messed up by the conveyor belts.
Very sane.
I like your manipulation of the geography.
Yeah, I mean, I've just lost too many fights and had no idea what went on because of the double conveyor belts. So I just try to minimize their impact wherever possible.
I feel like there's an archetype available right now for a half global hero who can just sit on the darn point while everyone else gets to enjoy the game. Because so often you win it flying colors. It's absolutely your point. But now you're stuck standing on it while 4 people get to play the video game, and you want to participate a little bit.
Definitely. When I play on that map, a lot of the times it feels like it's me who just ends up sitting on the point afterwards, and I'm like, this is cool, guys. I'm just going to sit here and hang out, wait for my robot to spawn.
Oh, and Ana is one of those heroes where that change of play is extremely noticeable. Because you're lining up your skill shots constantly, just Q. Oh, that was a 6 shot. I can't believe I landed that. And then suddenly, picnic time.
Yeah.
Do you go Eye of Horus there, or is it still just Nano Boost Nano?
Nah, you're giving up way too much power not picking Nano Boost, I think.
Man, I wish that was not the case. It sounds so cool. Like, oh, I'm so far away. Let's take Eye of Horus.
That would actually be cool.
But such is life. Well, hopefully we've given you some. Well, I say we. Dunk and Kyle have given you Ghost Bears some thoughts to improve your Volskaya play. Let's wrap this show up with an email, gentlemen.
Darkness stopped calling.
Does anyone else hear that buzzing?
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
You can send your emails to the same place that Ghost Bear sent his, itncast@gmail.com. If you got a question, comment, hot take, anything like that, send it over. Revan writes in this week and says, hey, ITN, I just barely got done watching the HGC and was wondering, what do I take away from all this? I can't help but feel that a lot of it was stuff I can't do at home in an uncoordinated solo league. How do I separate the team coordination and the individual skill that I should try to replicate at home? Big fan of the show. Thank you in advance. Revan, you basically just asked us what is more than 50% of every episode of the show we basically do. That's a loaded question. My TLDR is double support is the answer. It still is the answer, and you can absolutely replicate it at home with an uncoordinated team.
And sometimes home grabs onto some weird stuff, like Kerrigan. One thing that I've certainly seen... What?
I just like your phrasing there. Like, and sometimes home plays a lot of... So you're seeing a lot of Kerrigan in your games, is what you're saying.
Yeah, tons of Kerrigan. Lots of I'm the Kerrigan guys, like it's something we need to be fighting over. They're doing great. I mean, they're doing great. But
what that is, Kyle, that is a tactic. That is a tactic to stop you and other people from going, why the hell are you picking Kerrigan? When you say, I'm the Kerrigan, everyone goes, wait, is Kerrigan a meta pick that I wasn't aware of and I'm the jerk? I'm uninformed?
I guess I don't get it. Okay. Well, and then you just stay shut up, right?
Yeah.
Things go.
Which, by the way,
one thing that did make it home, though, was Johanna on Tomb of the Spider Queen from HGC. Having a coin bank has been a really useful strategy for a long time. But I finally am seeing that as a more permanent thing on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Yeah, I think generally when you're trying to separate out the team-only stuff versus can be done anywhere, there's like obvious stuff. Like Medivh's probably not that good when all 5 of us don't exactly know what's going on. But then I think what you should look at is a lot of times in competitive, their compositions are a lot more focused than in Hero League, Quick Match, etc. Like in competitive, how well you can do one specific thing really defines how good a hero is. Take Karazim, for example. Garrett, you hate seeing Karazims on your team.
Kyle, I hate Asmodan.
Wait, I thought you hate Karazim. Sorry, got it mixed up. Karazim is good in competitive because he can lend the last little bit of damage to actually make a kill happen. When everyone's focusing the same target in competitive, it's hard to get kills even then, but Karazim is like that little bit of a difference maker, right? In competitive, that's a big deal. At home, we're not all focusing the same target. We're not hard engaging on one target with our Greymane, Muradin, Karazim, like our mage is landing a spell at things. That's just not happening. So like that precise point of where his impact is much lowered at home. So he's not as good. So I think when you're looking at what do I take from HGC, look at what they play. think about why they play it. And if you don't really know why they play it, just kind of watch maybe how they team fight with it. If you watch the Kharazim Greymane team fights, you can tell the team's using it well. They engage and they kill a target in a microsecond. Like, it's literally done. The team fight's decided by whether that first target dies to the burst or not. You're not going to have that same opportunity when you're playing in uncoordinated games. So look at the other things they're doing that seem more general. Like, Lucio still sees a lot of play in competitive, but I would argue he's even better outside of competitive because you don't focus fire. You do spread your damage around a lot. So his healing essentially is more valuable where there's less focus. So in general, if there's a couple things specifically to take away from what's the difference between competitive and not, focus fire specific heroes are not quite as valuable in general. Like, spread damage is more valuable, and spread healing too are both more valuable in uncoordinated games. And then map control is a tough one. It's so nebulous, but like, wave clear is really important in competitive, and people don't appreciate how important it is in non-competitive games too.
So
what about?
So you're saying wave clear is something you should be taking at home, though? It's just that it's underrated in your pickup games.
Super underrated.
What about these fishing Muradins? That's a play style I've seen arrive in my home games now, and it's not very effective.
You're talking about the haymaker, like jump in, stun you, try to haymaker you back into my team, that kind of Muradin?
Right, like you're in battlefield, and he spends his whole time in that upper hallway hoping somebody overextends.
That was kind of a result of the way overtuned Muradin jump talent, heavy impact at 7. It was still stunning on the HTC Finals patch, and it no longer stuns, so it's way less effective at enabling a kill. And I think people don't really understand that because it's not clear. We literally just watched BlizzCon, and while they were playing BlizzCon, it was already nerfed on the live servers. So I think it's really not clear to a lot of people that Muradin is much worse than he was at BlizzCon, even though it was just a week ago. And that style especially is one of those things where it takes coordination. Your team has to know not to step up because their tank is on the sideline. Your team has to know when the person gets haymakered, we have to focus fire. Like, that style is just not as valuable as the avatar, stand in the middle view, healing static, everybody hit me Muradin in uncoordinated games.
But not only that, at BlizzCon, it was easier to perform because it's stunned on the landing.
Yes.
That's horrifying. That
So
everyone's doing it without a key part of the strategy functioning.
So it's double layer. It's a dangerous playstyle in the first place because you're utilizing your Dwarf Toss to try and set up a gank on as the team's main tank. And one of the main abilities that makes that work is just doesn't exist anymore. Well, the ability, but it exists, but not. It doesn't work the same way it used to. That's man. I was just mad seeing just Muradin's Dwarf Toss in because I'm like, this is gonna go bad, and you're gonna want to leave, and you're not gonna be able to. It's like, just walk in. It's fine. Mount up, run in, pop your avatar, have an escape plan. So, well, I think that was a good rundown, Dunk. Thank you for that. It's so often is the topic on this show, right, Kyle? Like, we leave a tournament and we're like, okay, what the heck do we take away from this? And these finals, I felt like were, to me, I don't know, the most clear cut. It's funny because we were calling it, we're like, we're gonna see a lot more Kharazim. That's gonna happen. We're gonna see maybe more Johanna. That ended up happening. I'm worried about that Muradin play. I'm worried about it. I'm still worried about it. And it just solidified double supports how well it works. So but it changes every time. And I think the big point you brought up, Dunk, is pay attention to what patch they're playing on too. Because it does say up at the top. I think sometimes it rotates out for other information. But they do up at the top. It's not abundantly clear. The casters bring it up as well from time to time, but just keep an eye on it because sometimes there are major pieces of the puzzle missing between your game at home and what you're seeing on screen.
Absolutely.
So, Thank you for your email, Revan. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you again to our badass patrons over at patreon.com/ITN that are supporting this podcast episode by episode with however much they would like to back this show with. Huge thanks to our producers as well, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, and Mythdoll. You guys are badass. Thank you so much. We have Into the Nexus t-shirts available. You can pick that up over at shirts.amove.tv. Don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast. And we got to thank Gorath for our awesome intro music and BrianGriffithMusic.com for our outro music. Kyle Fergusson, where can folks find you when you're not doing Into the Nexus?
This weekend, find me over at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson. Team League's back on, an actual Team League. We're done practicing. We're ready to finish those out. Special thing about my Team League on the weekends, it has one person from every single league, and we put a team together and have a good time with the core guys, as well as Heroes Forge. So 3 podcasts coming together to play Team League on Saturdays at 2 p.m. Pacific.
Awesome. Dunk Train, how about yourself, sir?
As far as I'm concerned, you can always find me on twitch.tv/dunktrain. Usually stream in the evenings, Pacific time, Monday through Thursday mostly, and sometimes weekend streams. And then Twitter at dunktrain if you want to see what other cool stuff I do, like this podcast.
Nice. Folks, I'm on Twitter at Garrett Art. Every podcast I do can be found over at amove.tv. We just put up a new episode of Let's Talk About Star Wars. Those usually only happen once a month. They're happening twice a month this month and twice next month because Last Jedi's coming out and we have a lot of Star Wars to talk about. So go and subscribe to Let's Talk About Star Wars if you are not already doing that. We also put up a new episode of our on hiatus Warcraft podcast for Azeroth because there was just so much WoW awesomeness at BlizzCon, and that episode is part of the Extra Life 2017 drive benefiting the Children's Miracle Network, so go find that and donate to a good cause. That's all my specific pimpage for this week. Thank you again, everyone, for listening to this show. Dunk Train, thank you again for joining us. Technically 2 episodes in a row, even though it feels like it was ancient history already since we were hanging out in stolen couches in the Anaheim Convention Center. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's going to do it. Thank you, everyone. Until next time, good luck and have fun.
Take care.
We're rolling out.